Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about something that nobody ever teaches you in English class. Something that's way more important than memorizing vocabulary lists or studying grammar rules, and that's learning how to actually read people. And I'm not talking about reading words on a page. I'm talking about understanding what someone really means when they talk to you, what they're actually feeling behind the smile they're showing you, what they truly want when they ask you a simple question. Because here's the thing that most English learners don't realize until it's too late. You can know every single word in the dictionary. You can have perfect grammar. You can speak with a beautiful accent. But if you can't read people, if you can't understand the real message behind the words they're saying, you're going to feel confused and lost and frustrated in almost every conversation you have, especially in American culture. Let me tell you something that might blow your mind. Research shows that words only make up about 7% of communication. Just 7%. The other 93% is tone of voice, body language, facial expressions, energy, and all the stuff that's happening underneath the surface that nobody's directly saying out loud. So if you're only focused on understanding the words people say, you're literally missing 93% of what's actually being communicated to you. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how to read those hidden signals, how to know what people are really thinking and feeling, and how to navigate social situations in America with way more confidence. So make sure you stay till the very end. And if you're serious about truly mastering English communication and not just vocabulary, hit that subscribe button right now because we're about to go deep into human psychology, and it's going to change the way you see every conversation you have from this point forward. Let's start with something that happens all the time and drives English learners absolutely crazy. You ask someone, "How are you doing?" and they respond, "I'm good, thanks. How are you?" Seems simple, right? You learned this phrase in your very first English class. It's basic stuff. But here's what's actually happening in real American culture. Most of the time, when someone says, "I'm good," they don't actually mean they're good. Sometimes they're stressed out of their mind, but they're just being polite. Sometimes they're having a terrible day, but they don't want to burden you with their problems. Sometimes they're testing whether you actually care enough to ask a follow-up question or if you're just doing the automatic social script that everyone does. And if you take their words at face value and just move on with the conversation, you might be completely missing what's really going on. I remember this guy I used to work with at a marketing agency in Denver. His name was Tom, and he was the kind of person who always said he was fine no matter what was happening in his life. You'd walk past his desk and say, "Hey, Tom, how's it going?" And he'd always respond, "Yeah, I'm fine, just busy, you know how it is." And for the first few months, I took him at his word and figured he was just a pretty chill, easygoing guy. But one day I actually paid attention to how he said it instead of just what he said, and I noticed his voice was flat and tired. His shoulders were slumped forward. He was rubbing his eyes like he hadn't slept in days. And when he said, "I'm fine," there was absolutely zero energy behind those words. So instead of just walking away like I normally did, I stopped and said, "You sure, man? You seem pretty worn out." And suddenly his whole face changed, and he let out this huge sigh and said, "Honestly, I'm drowning over here. I've got 3 projects due by Friday, and I have no idea how I'm going to finish them all." Turns out he'd been struggling for weeks, but he kept saying he was fine because he didn't want to look weak or incompetent in front of the team. And the only reason I finally understood what was really going on was because I stopped listening to just his words and started paying attention to everything else he was communicating through his tone, his body language, his energy level. Now, let me teach you something that'll help you understand almost every single human being you ever interact with, no matter where they're from or what language they speak. Every person on this planet has three basic psychological needs. And when you understand these three needs, you can predict why people act the way they do, why they say certain things, why they get upset or happy or defensive in specific situations. The first need is the need to feel important. Everyone, and I mean everyone, wants to feel like they matter, like they're valued, like they're worth paying attention to. This is why people brag about their accomplishments, why they get offended when you forget their name, why they interrupt your story to tell their own story that they think is better or more interesting. They're not necessarily trying to be rude or annoying. They just have this deep human need to feel significant and important. I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say you just got a promotion at work and you're super excited about it. So you tell your friend, hey, guess what? I just got promoted to senior analyst and I'm getting a 15% raise. Now watch what happens. Some friends will genuinely celebrate with you. They'll say, dude, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. You totally deserve it after all your hard work. But other friends, the ones who are feeling insecure about their own careers, might immediately respond with something like, oh, cool. Yeah, I actually got promoted last year and my raise was 20%. So that's pretty standard for our industry. See what just happened there? They couldn't just let you have your moment because your success made them feel less important by comparison, so they had to one-up you to restore their sense of significance. Once you understand this pattern, you'll see it everywhere, and you'll stop taking it personally when people do this kind of stuff, because you'll realize it's not really about you. It's about them trying to meet their own need to feel important. The second universal need is the need to be understood. People desperately want others to get them, to truly understand how they feel and what they're going through. This is why we love talking to good listeners, why therapy is so valuable, why we feel closest to the people who really seem to see us for who we are. And this is also why arguments escalate so quickly, because both people feel like the other person isn't understanding their perspective, so they get louder and more emotional, trying to make themselves heard. When someone feels understood, even if you disagree with them, they'll usually stay calm and reasonable. But when someone feels misunderstood or dismissed, that's when things get ugly. The third need is the need for approval. We all want people to like us, to accept us, to think we're cool or smart or funny or attractive or whatever quality matters to us. This need for approval is why people follow trends even when they don't personally like them. Why people hide parts of their personality that they think others might judge. Why people carefully edit their social media posts to show only the highlight reel of their lives. Once you understand these three needs that drive human behavior, you can read people so much better because you can ask yourself, okay, which of these needs is driving what this person is saying or doing right now? And suddenly, their behavior makes total sense. Now let's talk about something uncomfortable but super important, and that's the fact that people lie all the time. I'm not saying everyone's a terrible person or that you can't trust anybody. What I'm saying is that humans tell small lies constantly, every single day, usually not to hurt anyone, but to protect themselves, to manage how others see them, or to avoid awkward situations. There are basically three main reasons people lie. First, self-protection. They don't want to get in trouble, don't want to look bad, don't want to deal with negative consequences. So they'll say stuff like, sorry, I'm late. There was crazy traffic, when really they just didn't leave on time. Or I didn't get your email, when they actually saw it but forgot to respond. Second reason is image management. People want you to see them in a certain light, so they'll exaggerate their accomplishments, downplay their mistakes, pretend they know things they don't actually know. Like someone at a party might say, oh, yeah, I've read that book, when they've only seen the movie, because they don't want to seem uncultured or uninformed. And the third reason people lie is to avoid conflict or awkwardness. They don't want to hurt your feelings or create tension, so they'll give you a polite lie instead of the honest truth. Like if you ask your friend, do you like my new haircut? And they think it looks terrible, most people won't say that. They'll say, yeah, it's different, it's cool, in this kind of flat, unconvincing tone. Now, here's how you can tell when someone might not be telling you the complete truth. Pay attention to whether their body language matches their words. If someone says, I'm so excited about this, but their face is blank and their voice is monotone, something's off. If someone says, I'm not upset, but their jaw is clenched and their arms are crossed tight against their chest, they're definitely upset. Watch for things like avoiding eye contact when they're answering a direct question, touching their face or neck while they talk, which is often a self-soothing gesture when people feel uncomfortable, or giving you way too many details to justify a simple answer, which usually means they retrying too hard to make you believe them. I'm not saying you should become paranoid and suspicious of everyone around you. I'm just saying that if you learn to notice when someone's words don't match their energy or their body language, you'll have a much better sense of what's really going on beneath the surface. And that awareness will help you navigate tricky situations way more effectively. Part 2. How to read people and connect deeply. All right. So now that you understand why people do what they do, and why you can't just take everyone's words at face value, let's talk about the actual skills you need to develop so you can read people like a book and connect with them on a much deeper level. And the first skill, the most powerful one by far, is something called active listening. Now, I know what you're thinking. I already know how to listen. I do it every day. But here's the reality. Most people don't actually listen when someone else is talking. What they're really doing is waiting for their turn to speak, thinking about what they're going to say next, judging what the other person is saying, or just letting the words wash over them without really absorbing anything. True active listening is completely different, and when you master it, people will be drawn to you like a magnet, because everybody is desperate to feel truly heard, and almost nobody actually gives them that gift. So here's what active listening actually looks like in real life. When someone's talking to you, you put your phone away, not just face down on the table, but actually away, where you won't be tempted to check it. You turn your body toward them. You make natural eye contact without staring them down like a psycho. And you focus 100% of your attention on not just the words they're saying, but how they're saying it. What emotion is coming through in their voice, what their face and hands are doing while they talk. And here's the key part that most people skip. You reflect back what you're hearing to show that you actually understand. So, if your friend is telling you about a stressful situation at work, and they say, my boss gave me this huge project with an impossible deadline and I don't even know where to start, a bad response would be, oh yeah, that sucks. Anyway, did you see that new show on Netflix? Because you just completely dismissed what they shared and changed the subject to what you care about. A better response, one that shows you're actually listening, would be, Man, that sounds really overwhelming. It must be super stressful not knowing if you can even pull it off in time. See the difference? In the second response, you're showing that you heard not just the facts, but the emotion behind it. And you're validating how they feel instead of brushing past it. Let me tell you about someone who completely transformed their social life just by learning how to listen better. There was this woman named Jenny who worked in customer service at a phone company, and she was really struggling because customers would call in angry and frustrated, and she'd try to help them, but they'd just get more and more upset no matter what she said. Her manager kept telling her, "You need to connect with the customers better." But she had no idea what that actually meant because she thought she was being perfectly nice and professional. Then one day she went to a training workshop and the instructor taught her this one simple technique. Instead of immediately jumping into problem solving mode when a customer complained, she started acknowledging their feelings first. So when someone called and said, "I've been on hold for 30 minutes and my internet still doesn't work, and I have a work meeting in an hour," instead of saying, "Okay, let me look up your account," Jenny started saying, "I can totally understand how frustrating that must be, especially when you need it for work. I'm going to do everything I can to get this fixed for you right now." Just that one little shift, acknowledging the person's emotion before trying to solve their problem, changed everything. Customers started calming down immediately because they felt heard and understood. And within a couple months, Jenny went from having some of the worst customer satisfaction scores on her team to having the best scores. And the crazy thing is, her technical skills didn't change at all. She didn't suddenly become better at fixing internet problems. She just became better at making people feel like she actually cared about what they were going through. Now let's talk about something that Americans care about a lot, but rarely explain directly to people from other cultures. And that's this concept of reading the room. Reading the room basically means understanding the social vibe of whatever situation you're in and adjusting your behavior to match it. It's knowing when it's okay to be loud and funny and when you need to be quiet and serious. It's sensing when a conversation has run its course and you should wrap it up versus when someone actually wants to keep talking. It's picking up on tension in a group and knowing whether to address it or ignore it. This skill is huge in American workplaces, especially because Americans value something called emotional intelligence just as much as they value your actual job skills, sometimes even more. Let me give you a concrete example of what reading the room looks like. Imagine you just started a new job and it's your first week. You walk into the break room and three of your coworkers are standing around talking, and one of them is saying, "I can't believe they're making us work this weekend. This is the third weekend in a row. I'm so tired." Now you have a choice in how you respond. If you're not reading the room, you might say something like, "Oh, I don't mind working weekends. I like the overtime pay," because you're just being honest about your own feelings. But what you didn't catch is that these three people are venting and bonding over their shared frustration. And by saying you don't mind, you just positioned yourself as an outsider who doesn't get it. Maybe even someone who makes them look bad by comparison. A better response that shows you're reading the room would be, "Yeah, that's rough. Everyone needs a break sometimes," because now you're showing empathy and joining their shared experience instead of accidentally creating distance. These little moments happen constantly in American social life, and the people who pick up on them and adjust accordingly are the ones who build friendships faster, get promoted quicker, and just generally feel more comfortable and confident in social situations. So here's what I want you to actually do starting today to build these skills, because just knowing about them doesn't help unless you practice. Every single morning when you wake up, set one tiny observation goal for yourself. Maybe today your goal is, I'm going to pay attention to people's tone of voice in every conversation I have. That's it. Just tone. You're not trying to master everything at once, you're just building awareness of one specific thing. Then, throughout your day, whenever you interact with someone, practice that one skill. Listen to how their voice sounds when they talk to you. Is it warm and energetic or flat and tired? Does their tone match their words, or is there a disconnect? When someone says, "Yeah, I'm fine," do they sound fine or do they sound stressed, annoyed, sad? Just notice it. You don't have to do anything about it yet. You're just training your brain to pick up on these signals that you've been missing. Then, at the end of the day, spend just 3 minutes thinking about one interaction you had. Ask yourself what you noticed about that person's behavior, whether their words match their body language and tone, what they might have really been feeling underneath the surface. This simple practice, just 5 minutes total per day, will completely change how you see people within about a month because you're building pattern recognition. You're teaching yourself to notice things that most people walk right past. And here's the cool part. As you get better at reading people, your English automatically improves too, because you start understanding context and subtext and all the hidden meanings that native speakers communicate without directly stating. You pick up on sarcasm, you understand when someone's joking versus serious, you catch subtle hints and indirect communication that you used to completely miss. Listen, I know this might feel like a lot at first. You're already working hard to improve your vocabulary and your grammar and your pronunciation, and now I'm telling you that you also need to pay attention to tone and body language and hidden needs and social cues. But here's the thing. This is actually what separates people who study English forever but still feel lost in conversations from people who become genuinely fluent and confident communicators. The second group understands that language isn't just about words, it's about human connection. And human connection happens in all those invisible spaces between the words where real emotion and meaning live. So starting right now, I want you to commit to becoming a student of human behavior, not just a student of English. Watch how people move, how they react, what makes them light up or shut down. Practice truly listening instead of just waiting to talk. Pay attention to the energy in every room you walk into. And I promise you, within just a few weeks, you'll start feeling so much more confident in social situations because you'll finally understand what's really going on. If this video opened your eyes to a whole new way of thinking about communication, make sure you subscribe and drop a comment telling me which skill you're going to practice first. Thank you, everyone. Bye.